Before we get too far into this unit, we need to figure out what exactly we're going to have to do throughout this unit. What is our end goal here? What are we learning about and why? So to do that, I want you to take a look at the standard. The standard is on the screen right now. It says, analyze and interpret data on the distribution of fossils and rocks, continental shapes, and seafloor structures to provide evidence of the past plate motions. Now, what on earth does that mean? There's a lot of really big words in there. So we're going to take some time and we're going to break it down. But before we get to that breakdown, I would like you to copy down the actual standard on the front of your purple unit packet. You'll see on the unit packet that it says layers of the earth and plate tectonics, and then there's a spot for your name. In between there's a bunch of blank space. So I want you to copy down what's on your screen right now. Go ahead and pause the video and do that. And when you're done, you can push play and get the breakdown. Welcome back. Now that you push play again, I'm assuming you have this whole standard copied down onto the front of your unit packet. If not, pause it again and get it copied down. But since you have it copied, now we can start the breakdown. First of all, we are working on analyzing and interpreting data. Go ahead and draw a box around it. That's our big standard. That's the goal of this unit. That's the same standard that we had when we did the tornado web quest when we were talking about natural hazards. We analyzed and interpreted data. And what we did while we were doing that was we had to, if you remember, we asked you to classify or sort things. So you're going to write classify. You got to classify things. You got to identify why they go together. What are those categories you put them in? And you need to be able to explain or interpret them. Tell us, what is it really showing and why? And if you remember the data we're going for, that's evidence. Remember, evidence is like your proof. We're looking for evidence. We want proof. What is evidence and what is not? What is proof that something happened? Okay, so we're going to be analyzing, interpreting data. We'll be classifying things, identifying things, combining them, putting them together, explaining why they go together, and what do they prove. The evidence is your proof. We're going to be dealing with a lot of proof. The next part of our standard talks about the distribution. Distribution just means where are they located? Where they are located. And in this case, we're talking about fossils and rocks. You've seen lots of rocks. We already studied the rock cycle, and fossils are usually some sort of an imprint in a rock, something that was left behind by something that lived a long time ago. So we'll be, some of the evidence that we'll be working with is rocks and fossils. Some more evidence that we'll be working with is continental shapes. That's talking about the shape of the continent, like what does North America look like, or South America, or Europe, or Asia. And what scientists have noticed is that the shapes of the continents look like they fit together like a puzzle. You could put them together like one big puzzle. That's some evidence that scientists have used. Continents fit like a puzzle. And the last big type of evidence that we're going to be dealing with will be the fact that there's things called seafloor structures. If we break this down, seafloor means that it's located on the bottom of the sea or the ocean, and structures are things that have formed. So sometimes at the bottom of the sea you'll find little mountains, or you'll find valleys, or maybe even a volcano. at the bottom of the ocean. So these seafloor structures are talking about what formed on the bottom of the ocean. And the whole point of doing this and looking at all of these things, looking at the fossils and the rocks and the mountains and the seafloor structures and the shapes of the continents, the whole point of this is to provide evidence. Remember, evidence is that proof. We're looking for proof of past plate motions. So at the beginning of the year when we were talking about things, we talked about how the Earth is made of tectonic plates. And the big idea here is that by analyzing and interpreting all of this different types of data, you will be able to actually prove that the tectonic plates are moving, that they move. And when those plates move, they cause the continents to move. And that's our big goal here, to prove that the continents have moved. And we call that Continental Drift. Which is kind of like what you saw in Ice Age, though you've already talked about how that's accurate and inaccurate. So basically, the goal of our unit is to look at lots of different evidence and data that scientists have collected and prove that the continents have moved, that they have drifted. Now it's time to get started on the activities that are going to help you get that learning that you need to be able to do those things. So go ahead and move on to the next slide.